All right, and good morning or good afternoon, I guess, on this Monday afternoon. Today is another episode of Wall Dropping History. You'll notice I've done a lot of upping of the production value of the show, put a lot of work into it this weekend. So we got a lot to get to today, a lot of cool announcements I want to go through. My name is Jacob Waldrop, and I will be I want to go over a couple announcements real fast. The first one is I want to show. I kind of got this idea from my son's school, but I thought it'd be fun for us to engage in. And that is for y'all to send in your baby pictures. I put a post in Google Classroom, or you can email it to me. And I thought we'd play this little game. Oh, can't hear. Wait, what? Cannot hear. Can you hear me at all? Oh, there. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So I thought I'd play this little game. So you send in your baby pictures, and I'm going to put them in some slides. And I thought it would be a fun game to see if we can guess who the people are from their baby pictures. So it'll be a fun little thing. We're gonna do that on Friday. Make sure you submit it before Thursday during the show, so that way I have some time to convert it into the slides. Be real fun for us. Give us something fun to do on a fun Friday. It says the volume is very low. I don't know how to make it any louder. Okay, I don't know how to make it any louder. I'm gonna have to fool with that after we do it. I'll just try to talk a little louder, at least through the announcements. So yeah, there's that. So send that in. Now, throughout the week, today we're going to talk about Bill Clinton. Tomorrow we're going to talk about George W. Bush. And I thought I'd make it like a little pandemic Wednesday. And we'll look at, I think this week we're going to look at the flu of the right around the First World War and see what that was all about. And then Thursday we're going to talk about 9/11. And then Friday we're going to do 90s culture. So make sure you show up for that. And that's going to be when we announce we're gonna post the pictures, the baby pictures. So all right, can y'all hear me better now? Is this better? Hopefully this is better. Okay. All right, so there's my other little helper. He's probably gonna bail on me in a little while, but
I'm not
he'll help. He'll help on me. Help with me for a little while. So yeah, anyway, so today we're going to talk about Bill Clinton. Now, the code is in there. You got a code of JIGVM. So if you want to follow along, if you're watching on Nearpod, hop in there. Okay, so yeah, so it looks like the audio is much better. That's good. All right, beautiful. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get going. And we are talking about the Bill Clinton years. Now, it should be of note, this is the first president that I ever watched the debates for. So I got really into the debates, watching him debate Ross Perot and George W. Bush. Very good. And I do want to say this, too. Obviously, I have small children with me. For me to cover some of his scandals due to the nature of it, I'm going to be very tiptoeing around the verbiage I use. So if you want to know more about it, I'm sure you can look it up. But some of his scandals are kind of difficult to talk about with small children around. All right, so his early years. Oh, there's a typo. It's supposed to be. He was the son of there's a missing space. He was son of a traveling salesman who died before he was born, and he was born in Hope, Arkansas. His family was known by his stepfather, who sold cars to all races. This is a very controversial thing to be doing at this time, right? And so Clinton would actually get his last name from his stepdad. And growing up, he would say his major influences were JFK and Martin Luther King. And he even memorized the I Have a Dream speech. So the thing I kind of asked was, how do you think it impacted Clinton to see someone taking that level of a risk, right? Because that was a huge risk for his stepdad to be selling cars to white and black people at the same time. That was quite a risk. You know, he got to kind of witness that firsthand. Oh, and I do want to say thank you, Quinn. Thank you, Miss Kaylin. Thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you, Nirali, Noelle, Jayla, Trinity. Oh, we got Trinity in here. We hadn't had her in a while. Thank you, Bushra, and thank you, Mrs. Waldrop, for joining in. Glad to have every one of y'all with us today. Okay, so let me ask you, right? And obviously, you know, some of the things I've done in my life has influenced it to y'all. But how does it influence you, really, to see me have kind of the positions I take in, you know, demanding and kind of fighting for equality of, you know, race and gender and orientation and all that stuff? How does that influence y'all?
Well, I guess it kind of influences us to like accept people of other races and not to be racist, I guess.
Right.
Exactly, and it lets us to be colorblind, basically, like saying like it doesn't. You don't have to. Black people don't have to drink from a different water fountain as white people because they're black.
It's funny, you know. The funny thing about it is, and I had this discussion with a good friend of mine, Nate. You know, Mr. Sidney. I had a good conversation with him the other day. And you know, the thing about it that I think I've always tried to press on y'all is to not be colorblind, because it's impossible, right? If you see somebody of a different race, you're going to notice, hey, that person's a different race, right?
Yeah.
The kind of analogy I tried to make it was, you know, if you've gone your whole life and you've never seen the color blue, right? You've never seen it, right? No, not in a painting, not in a movie, nothing, right? And then all of a sudden somebody introduces you to the color blue. There's really two ways you can do it. All right, the first one you go is, oh, that's different. I don't like it. Right? And then you just try to omit blue from anything you ever see from that point.
Yeah.
Right? Or you can kind of do the way we would do anytime we saw a new color, which is, oh, that's cool. I've never seen blue before. And now you want to know more about blue, right? I think the best example is kind of Black Panther, and that's an easy one, but, you know, Black Panther, there was no way I was going to watch Black Panther and not immediately realize, hey, this is a very pro-black culture, pro-black pro-African movie, right? Mm-hmm. So I could look at it and go, oh, that's different. I don't like black people. I don't like African culture. I'm not going to like this movie.
Yeah.
Or you can look at it and go, oh, that's really cool. And then you start to notice, like, all the different tribes were actual different, you know, you have the people from, like, the Ghana region and Sub-Saharan Africa, and Joja's being spoken, you know, and, I'm sorry, not Joja, Kwasa, you know, it's being spoken. You know, it's like, wow, that really adds to the movie and makes it more fun to watch. And that's kind of the difference. It's not to not see different races and cultures, but to kind of embrace it and realize, like, that's something else I get to experience and appreciate, you know. Yeah, if you don't see color, you can't see people. Let's see what are some of the answers. It'll accept more people, no matter their race.
Yep.
Teach him not to be afraid. That's a huge one too, right? You know, the having the courage. Push him to be more like his stepdad. See others as equal. Made him less racist. You know, one of the great examples is if, you know, somebody would come up to you and say, hey, you know, all Indian people are terrible people, right? It's easy for y'all to sit there and say, no, they're not. How would you know? How would you know?
My mom's from Indonesia.
Yeah, but that's not India, baby. How would you know?
Because we have a lot of Indian friends.
Right. You just go, well, who would you name? What would be a name you'd use?
Hitesh.
Okay, so Mr. Hitesh, right? The gentleman we had, Dr. Chetta, that we had to come on to the show, you know? I mean, you know him, and you're like, well, I know he's not all these terrible things.
On the news.
Right. So, yeah, it definitely helps to have that exposure. Now, by getting scholarships, he was able to attend Georgetown University, where he'd go on to be class president. Oh, by the way, I didn't not notice you. Welcome aboard, Mr. Raby. Anyway, he would attend Georgetown University and would go on to be class president. He would eventually transfer to Oxford and get a Rhodes. By the way, it's in England, and get a Rhodes scholarship and got degrees in philosophy, politics, and economics. He would befriend a fellow American Rhodes Scholar named Frank Aller, who would commit suicide rather than be drafted to go to war in Vietnam. And this would create a huge anti-Vietnam sentiment in Bill Clinton. So the question I have is, have you ever had the loss of someone change how you see the world, and if so, how? Have you had the loss of somebody change how you see the world? Yeah, you're a little young.
Or a pet.
Oh yeah, maybe a pet, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if losing Cammy was life altering though. I know for me,
It
it's,
made me hate snakes' guts.
yeah,
That's what I learned that
yeah.
day, that snakes are terrible things.
I know. I always think about it as, you know, when I was about your age, Joe, is I got into a really bad fight with my brother, and I got into an argument with him. And the last thing I said to him was, "I hate him," and he said he hated me back. And he would be in a medically induced coma for the next 2 months. And I remember every night going to bed praying, you know, please don't let the last thing I said to my brother be, "I hate him," because I did not. I mean, I love my brother with all my heart. And to this day, I can't end a phone call without saying I love the person on the other end, because there's like this phobia in me that, you know, what if that's the last time I talk to him again? You
And
know?
the last word you say is not "I love you."
Right.
It's more of a "I miss you."
Right.
That's why every single call now that I heard, whenever you told me that story a couple months ago, you told us that story, and ever since then, I've never ended a phone call with anyone without them hanging up. I don't hang up phone calls. I don't, just in
Okay.
case they want to say something. And before they end it, I always say "I love you" before they end it.
Okay.
That's exactly what I do.
Let's see. I lost myself because, like, the end of the middle school, beginning of high school, I wasn't myself, the person I am now, and I was sad and upsetting.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That's,
No. And look, it's understandable. You know, y'all are not very old, so it's not exactly you haven't had a long lifespan, haven't lost anybody. Yeah, that's not unnatural. I was just kind of curious if somebody wanted to share their story.
Well, when
Too personal. Yeah, I think I can guess. Yeah, well, and you know, you think about it like students, you know, other students that you've gone to school with. You know, we talked about that earlier, but that impacted me the first time I lost a student. Boy, that was soul crushing. You know, to think like I had a hand in helping educate this student that they're not around anymore, and I outlived them. That's not how it's supposed to be. So that was particularly soul crushing. Probably one of the most soul crushing things I've had in my profession was losing a student.
I think I know a thing that changed your life. Losing your brother.
Yeah. So Clinton received a deferment while he was in Oxford attending college. He would then participate in anti-Vietnam War protests and even began organizing marches. Now he would go home and was trying to figure out, like, what should he do? Should he join the Navy or the Coast Guard? You know, he's trying to figure out how to remain as safe as possible while still serving his country. Well, it may be a shock to know that not everybody got drafted, and he just got very lucky. They made it up to number 195, like they give you a draft order number, and they made it up to 195, and he just happened to pull 311 out of 350.
Wow.
So he just got extraordinarily lucky that he did not get drafted into Vietnam.
Exactly, that's lucky.
Now, after finishing at Oxford, he would go on to law school at Yale, and it was there he would meet his wife, Hillary Rodham, which you probably saw. She tried to run for president against Donald Trump in the last election. Don't get political. Anyway, she would become Hillary Rodham Clinton, right? Now, together they became a coordinator for the George McGovern campaign, and he moved to work with Hillary in California for the 73 election. He would marry Hillary in 75, and they would have their only child, Chelsea, in 1980. So she's the same age as me. Well, almost. Now, after a brief time as a law professor in Arkansas, he would run for the House of Representatives in 74, and he lost a close race. He would then win an unopposed seat as the Attorney General. He would then run for governor in 78 as the youngest to ever run. So this is a huge leap up to go from running for the House of Representatives to running for a governor, right?
What does unopposed mean?
Means nobody ran against him. So he ran and there was nobody else to compete against him. He would become governor at only 32 years old in 1978. So my kind of question is, what is something that you had a failure in and it pushed you to even greater success? Like you had a failure, you fought through it, and then you ended up succeeding even more.
I know that's happened to me a lot. I'm just trying to remember one.
Well, think about it for you with Taekwondo. You know how many times you struggled and struggled and struggled, and you fought through a lot of failures, and then you go on and get your next belt.
Yeah,
You know?
I thought that stuff's happened to me before. Whenever I would not practice with my weapon,
Right.
I forgot all of my weapons, and then the next thing you know, at my mom's house and over here practicing my butt off,
Right.
and then then when I came back, I was able to do that form better than anybody in there. Like I knew that form so well. I knew that form like it was a muscle memory. And everybody was there. They'd stop a minute and wonder like, wait, what's next? And then they like do the next move, and then stop and wonder. And I was
Okay,
like,
okay, we get the picture,
you know.
too. What about you, Elizabeth? What do you think? The one I always kind of think about with you is trying to force you with that bowling alley portion of the laser tag place. You know, they had a little like area over there, a little restaurant, and they were doing karaoke that time on my birthday party, and I got you to go up there and sing "Let It Go,"
Oh no.
and you just kind of like fell in love with it, you know.
Oh no.
oh,
Oh no. And that was actually right before I told someone that like I wasn't that like
is it okay?
I liked Frozen, but I wasn't.
Oh,
like,
that's a good one. If she failed a test, it would push her to get a better score on the next one.
Yeah, I failed playing
I
the
don't
trumpet.
fail.
And
What's
ended up,
a, okay? So I don't know what a mellophone is. I have to look that up. What's a mellophone?
I've never known it well enough.
I have to look that one up. That's interesting.
I was in 5th through 6th grade, and I started getting really bad.
Oh, another one
grades,
for
almost
grades.
failing, but I came here and
worked harder.
I don't know.
Oh,
Gym
Miss Walter
personal
said
record.
gym personal records. Yeah, I've done a lot of those.
I got beat up one time during training.
Got beat up during training.
What?
What were you training for? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not. Okay.
Oh, Mr. Velasco is here with us. So is Mr. Noel. Glad you could join us today.
You already said no.
Oh, a freshman at Lehigh, tried out for cheerleading, didn't make it out for cheerleading, so I practiced and made it for the dance team. Oh, very awesome.
I like dance.
Very fun. Yeah.
I'm a break dancer. Don't laugh at me.
English test, but then I failed. I didn't want to break the promise trying. 10 points away from a perfect score. Well, you've had quite a few perfect scores in my class, so that's not surprising. Oh, boxing. Okay, boxing.
Ooh. I want to do wrestling. That's what I want to do. I think I have the wrestling body, even though I'm a wimp.
No.
Okay.
I'm a wimp. Though.
No.
All right, so he would lose re-election as governor, but after working in law firm for 4 years, he'd run for a second term in '82, and he would win, and then we'd get 2.5 more terms. So he'd be a total of 14 years as the governor of Arkansas. During that tenure, he would improve education and the economy of Arkansas. He would go on to become a part of the Democratic leadership that got the Democratic to shift to a more centrist platform. Because you remember, coming out of the FDR years, you know, they were very much about increasing Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, job programs, stuff like that. He's going to get them to kind of pull back to more of a center point of view. And keep in mind, too, this is following on the heels of the Republican Party going farther to the right. So they go far to the right. The Democrats, which are really far off to the left, kind of pulled it back into the middle, right? In fact, I would argue that many of the Democrats today would be more Republicans if you go back to like the 1950s. They would be like really far out there Republicans. He would also be accused of a few scandals during his time, but we're going to address that later. Now, Clinton ran in '93 for president, and he would run on free trade for North America, welfare reform, which is decreasing welfare, and reducing the deficit. So this is the Democrat running against welfare. Okay. His opponent, H.W. Bush, was not a very charismatic debater, right? You know, he kind of followed in the heels of Reagan, who was a popular president and was very good at speaking. H.W. Bush, not as much. He would be aided by a third-party independent named Ross Perot, who would help pull away Republican voters. Clinton would also preside over the longest period of peacetime economic expansion in U.S. history, and Clinton was very good at public speaking. And I wanted you to kind of hear this speech he gave. Now, somebody came up to George H.W. Bush and asked him this question. This was kind of one of the big questions that kind of made Clinton the front runner. Ooh, this is available. This is unavailable. Oh, here we go. Alright, we're going to have to listen to this real fast.
Yes, how has the national debt personally affected each of your lives? And if it hasn't, how can you honestly find a cure for the economic problems of the common people if you have no experience in what's ailing them?
Well, I think the national debt affects everybody. Obviously, it has a lot to do with interest rates. It has.
She's saying you personally.
On a personal basis, how has it affected you?
Has it affected you personally?
Well, I'm sure it has. I love my grandchildren. I want to think that they're going to be able to afford an education. I think that that's an important part of being a parent. Maybe I won't get it wrong. Are you suggesting that if somebody has means, that the national debt doesn't affect them?
Well, what I'm saying,
I'm not sure I get it. Help me with the question, and I'll try to answer it.
I've had friends that have been laid off from jobs.
Yeah.
I know people who cannot afford to pay the mortgage on their homes, their car payment. I have personal problems with the national debt. But how has it affected you? And if you have no experience in it, how can you help us if you don't know what we're feeling?
I think she means more the recession, the economic problems today the country faces.
Yeah, he's really struggling.
You ought to be in the White House for a day and hear what I hear and see what I see and read the mail I read and touch the people that I touch from time to time. I was in the Lomax AME Church. It's a black church just outside of Washington, D.C.
Oh, goodness.
And I read in the bulletin about teenage pregnancies, about the difficulty that families are having to make ends meet.
Even the announcer's like, where is he going with this?
I mean, you got to care. Everybody cares that people aren't doing well. But I don't think it's fair to say you haven't had cancer, therefore you don't know what it's like. I don't think it's fair to say, whatever it is, if you haven't been hit by it personally, but everybody's affected by the debt.
Okay. That was he was really struggling with that answer. All right, so now I want you to hear Clinton answer the exact same question.
That's why I'm trying to do something about it by stimulating the export, investing more, better education system. Thank you. Glad to clarify.
Tell me how it's affected you again. You know people who lost their jobs, lost their homes. Well, I've been governor of a small state for 12 years. I'll tell you how it's affected me. Every year, Congress and the President sign laws that make us do more things and gives us less money to do it with. I see people in my state, middle-class people, their taxes have gone up in Washington and their services have gone down, while the wealthy have gotten tax cuts. I have seen what's happened in this last 4 years. In my state, when people lose their jobs, there's a good chance I'll know them by their names. When a factory closes, I know the people who ran it. When the businesses go bankrupt, I know them. And I've been out here for 13 months, meeting in meetings just like this, ever since October, with people like you all over America. People that have lost their jobs, lost their livelihood, lost their health insurance. What I want you to understand is the national debt is not the only cause of that. It is because America has not invested in its people. It is because we have not grown. It is because we've had 12 years of trickle-down economics. We've gone from first to 12th in the world in wages. We've had 4 years where we produced no private sector jobs. Most people are working harder for less money than they were making 10 years ago. It is because we are in the grip of a failed economic theory. And this decision you're about to make better be about what kind of economic theory you want. Not just people saying, I'm going to go fix it, but what are we going to do? What I think we have to do is invest in American jobs, American education, control American healthcare costs, and bring the American people together again.
Wow.
Oh, man. And just seeing H.W. Bush kind of stand there like, huh? Oh, it was rough. So what were your thoughts on the two speeches? How did it impact you?
I don't
Well,
know.
I feel like Bill.
And I'm not talking about the content. Maybe you agreed more even with what H.W. Bush said. I'm just talking about the delivery, you know, the composure, all that stuff.
I kind of feel like
He was confident.
Oh, yeah, he's very confident.
H.W. Bush, or the first guy that went, didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, especially when he kept asking, like, I don't understand the question. It's like, you know you're going to get asked some question about how to deal with poverty, you know, personally. And he got on this long rant about how he went to a black church, and so now he understands poverty as though all black people are poor. You know, I know he didn't say that, but it's like, what's that got to do with it, you know?
Where is he going with this?
Yeah, it was a rough answer.
Like, he wasn't very confident in his answer.
He's like trying to get over here, and he's like,
but
especially when he's like,
I
I know what it's like to have. I don't have to have cancer to know what having cancer is like. It's like, wait, what?
What does that even have
What?
to do with it?
it's like here's where he's
the
trying to
second
go,
guy-
and this is where he is. He's just going all over the place.
The
trying
second
to get
guy that went, I don't even know who
Bill Clinton.
people were. Okay.
That's who we're talking about.
But it felt like he had like a better understanding of the topic. He felt like
Right.
he knew what he was doing. He felt like he knew like what he was talking about. He was
Right.
very confident in his answer, and he put it out in such a way that like he understands what it is. Like he went through it, and he understands on a personal level what it does to you.
Exactly.
Like, what it does to other people.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
he knows how to fix it, and he knows what to do to fix it, and he knows what he would do if he were able to.
Clinton, one of the fascinating things about it, he does the textbook classic thing that they'll teach you in basic public speaking. And whenever he goes to give a speech, you'll notice, if you listen to any of his speeches, he'll tell you what he's about to talk about. He'll talk about it, and then he'll tell you what he just talked about. And it's kind of like, it's basically the way you write an essay. You know, you write your opening paragraph with a thesis, the body where you explain the parts, and then you write your conclusion where you restate the thesis.
Yeah.
That's how you write a paper, and that's very much how he gives his speeches. You know, he's like, hey, look, I'm going to talk about poverty. He went and got the girl's name, you know, found out what her issue was. Then he outlined it in summation, and then he brought it home with how he wants to deal with poverty. And you'll notice one of the other things, and if you watch me in class, I cheated and stole this from him, by the way. But if you watch me in class, a lot of times I'll specifically say, all right, now listen here, this is important. He doesn't bury what parts of his speech he wants you to focus in on. He must use the words, all right, now listen, this is important, and then say what he thinks is important constantly. If you're ever given a public speech, that's a really handy tool.
I know Obama's done that before.
Yeah, Obama's done it too. Yeah, I've heard him do it too.
He'll be like, listen here, this is important.
That's right.
Okay.
He's done that. He's went to schools and told them like, okay, this is really important, and tells them what's important.
Yeah, and a lot of y'all saying the same thing. You know, yeah, she said Bush sounded Fisher. Clinton sounded more confident. Yeah, I mean, just the way their body language was, the way they handled themselves. Well, you got to understand, it was as much about Clinton winning as it was about Bush losing. You realize at one point in time, after the Gulf War, his approval rating was 80%. That's one of the highest in American history. And it looked like this dude was a lock for re-election.
Why is there like
Okay.
11 people.
five.
That's how many electoral votes each state gets.
Oh, Bush only got
Oh.
32. But Bush got 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, we're not counting. We're not doing that. Hold on. Because I put the count down there. Okay, so he would compromise with Democrats and decided to raise taxes. Now remember, his campaign was, read my lips, no new taxes. The second he did that, his approval rating sunk. It went from about 80% to about 39%, almost overnight. Now the Republicans, the Republicans had been running on anti-communism, right? That was always their platform. Vote for us. We're the anti-communist party, right? Now it felt like the Cold War was over, so they got to pick another strategy. And this is when they really start shifting gears, full focus, to running on the religious right, as they would kind of word it. But it wasn't in time, and Clinton would win 370 to 168.
Dang.
And this is his son, H.W. Bush. He was his campaign manager. So his son was his daddy's campaign manager. And I want you to
But
kind
it
of
was
hear this and
family
recount
that
this.
almost kept 41 from running again. In 1991, George Bush told his son he was seriously considering not running again because of his son Neil's legal troubles with a failed savings and loan. George W. Bush's response: "You've still got work to do, and the country needs you." For Bush, the hardest part of being a president's son was seeing his father lose.
The 92 defeat was really hard, and it ironically enough, it did make it easier for me, because when people criticized my dad, somebody who I admire greatly, I didn't react well at times, and it really affected me. When they criticized me, the sting wasn't nearly as difficult. It actually, being his son during his presidency created kind of a layer of asbestos. The only thing I was concerned about was that how would my girls react when they were put in the same position I had been in.
Would his father have won re-election if Texas billionaire Ross Perot had not entered the race unexpectedly and made it a...
By the way, Ross Perot owns Texas Instruments.
I think he'd have won.
Like the TI-85 calculator.
And I just can't
That's
prove
that
it.
guy.
I mean, it's just all conjecture, of course. But I think he would have won because I think ultimately there would have been a clear choice between a guy who had a very good first term and a untested governor.
After the Gulf War, when your father drove Saddam Hussein back into Iraq, his favorable rating went to 89%. But
89, sorry.
He was defeated in the election.
Well, it's from 89 to 39 on the poll that really mattered.
How did that affect you?
It's an interesting lesson of how to spend political capital. In the book, was somewhat dismayed about the inability for the White House to connect, the message to connect with the American people, that domestic politics really mattered for George Bush as much as international politics. In other words, he had a lot of capital to spend, and I didn't. In retrospect, it wasn't spent wisely.
Okay, so have you ever had a parent deal with something that impacted you, right? Like maybe your parent went through a tough time, and here I'm gonna hide student names just for anonymity. But where your parents went through something tough, and it's like it affected you seeing it affect them. Don't go for the low-hanging fruit, obviously, but
just a little bit too personal.
Yeah. Well, what about something smaller, right? Like some smaller thing. Like, how has my reaction to this pandemic affected you?
I don't know. Like the fact that you stay inside kind of makes me want other people to stay inside, because of your view on it.
Her mom's death, or his mom's death, whoever wrote that. Yeah, that'd be tough. Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I took the names off. Death of a grandfather. Yeah, that was tough. My grandfather's pretty influential on me too. How about you, Joe? Is there something that affected me? And by the way, it affected me, it affected you.
Well,
the pandemic. How's it affected you?
So it affected you by you getting this is not you not being okay with this and being as safe as you can be, and then
and by the way, it doesn't have to be parents. It could be anybody that raised you, if you want to put it in there. Not having enough money, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. But I mean,
oh, a parent having to find a new job, yeah, that's stressful.
Exactly.
That's stressful.
Yeah. But it affected me by saying, basically, since you being paranoid, it also makes me have to be paranoid.
Well, let's say paranoia is when you're overly afraid of things.
You are overly afraid of us.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely afraid of y'all getting hurt, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want y'all getting hurt, that's for sure.
You're paranoid.
All right, we're going to show names again. Okay, now by having a Democratic Congress in less than a month, he signed into law the Family and Medical Leave Act. So he's going to have a lot of big things happen because he controls Congress. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. My bad. I'll go back. My bad. Go ahead.
Ooh.
Oh, who's Vanilla Cream? I don't know who Vanilla Cream is.
Vanilla.
Alright, hopefully they're done now. I'll have to go back and look and see. Okay, so 2 days after taking over, he would remove Bush and Reagan's restrictions they placed on abortion and push for more sex education. You're going to see the abortion rates decline by 18%. The Family and Medical Leave Act. This is what allows, if you are, say, pregnant, to be able to go on leave and your boss can't just fire you and find somebody else. Same thing if you have a major medical condition. Now, he would cut taxes for the middle class and raise taxes on the wealthy. He would balance the budget, and he lowered taxes on 90% of small businesses. Now, his first big failure would come in 93. He tried to fight for Medicare for all, right? This universal health care. It would be a huge failure. He started getting attacked by the left and the right on this, mostly the insurance companies. And here's my question is, why do you think healthcare is such a huge issue, and how do you think we should deal with it, right? Should we, get rid of insurance and go to Medicare for all? Should we give money to insurance to lower your insurance costs? That's kind of how Obamacare attempted to do it anyway. Or should the government have no say in healthcare? They should just get out of that business.
I think that it should be like we have healthcare for all.
I think it should be free.
Yeah, I think healthcare should be free.
Well, it'd be paid for with taxes.
Yeah.
Right, so you pay taxes and then the government covers.
I think that would be...
Like you pay all your taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and then the government be like, okay, I'm taking your taxes, I'm going to do this with them, and I'm going to take them, and then that's going to go into your feed for doctors and stuff like that. So like say I have cancer, and we don't have enough money to go to the doctor, and we have this going on, and we've already paid our taxes, and the governor can be like, okay, you have cancer, okay, I'm going to take your taxes, and I'm going to throw them to the doctor, and then now you have the ability to basically go to the doctor for free. So, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Raby says, healthcare isn't funded properly, and it should be healthcare for all.
Ooh, I like that.
Everybody should have healthcare. I think it should be free.
Jilo says it should be free. I agree with that.
Free for everybody?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think it's such a big issue. I think it's such a huge issue because everybody has different opinions on how their health should be.
I think healthcare
Everybody
should
has
be...
different opinions on how other people's health care should be. And everybody wants their health care, but they don't know that they don't care if other people have their health care.
Right.
At the end of the day, it just comes down to what's best for me and my family. I don't give two craps about yours.
Right. So we got a lot of people saying this should be free. I see it's a basic human right.
Quinn?
Should be better funded. Let me see. I wonder if that's everybody.
It's basic human rights.
Sometimes it lags out on us.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me come back to it.
If you're not done, just tell us.
Yeah. That's a huge issue due to budget issues. Yeah. Basic human rights should be free. All right. Very good stuff. Yeah. Okay. Now, 93 during an operation for humanitarian reasons, 2 helicopters were shot down in Somalia behind enemy lines. This resulted in a battle that saw 18 soldiers killed and 73 wounded and 1 taken hostage. Now, they would drag the dead U.S. soldiers through the streets of Somalia to be televised, showing them their dead bodies. A lot of people thought, they got really angry about it, thought we should have invaded Somalia. However, the U.S. responded instead by pulling the humanitarian aid out of Somalia.
Wait, so basically they would take someone's dead body and show it to them and be like, sorry, they died.
Well, just bragging about it, like, look all these Americans we killed. So my question is, do you think we should have pulled our forces out, or should we have invaded Somalia? Like, we were basically flying helicopters over to help poor Somali people. And they shot those helicopters down and killed the soldiers. Should we have invaded Somalia? Which, by the way, they still have a hard time with Somalia. Like Captain Phelps, the Somali pirates.
Yeah, basically, I would do is, if they started shooting that, I would start going by boat. Like, tricking them, thinking. And then, like,
But here's the question, would you have attacked them or just gotten out of it?
I would have just... I would attack them first.
You would attack them?
Yeah.
Or what you think, Elizabeth?
Well, I don't think it's very sensible to just, like, I get that they attacked us and they took one of our people hostage and they wounded 72 of them and they killed, I don't even know how many you said, but
81.
I don't think it's very sensible to, because you can't fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
It's just gonna make
more fire.
A full-fledged war.
But here's the question, I'm just asking. What about the people they were helping, the people that were starving to death and they were bringing them food? What about them?
That's good.
It's good that they die?
No, it's good that they bring them food.
No, I know, but I mean, by pulling out, you're basically saying we're not going to bring them food anymore. It's a tough one.
I think we could have made like secret rendezvous points. I think.
Yeah, it's not really.
Or we could have had people go in as disguise as them.
Right.
And
K-Popper said they would pull out because it would create greater problems, and there's some truth to that, right? We've seen that come back to bite us in the butt.
Yeah, we could have sent someone in and had them disguise as.
Right. Okay, so Clinton's first major scandal happened in '93, and this was called Whitewater, and it was an allegation that while he was governor, he pressured a guy named David Hale to provide an illegal $300,000 loan to a Susan McDougal, who was partner in the Whitewater land deal with him and his wife Hillary Clinton. McDougal was convicted, but the Clintons were never charged. Yeah, and Miss Jackson says if you keep fighting, it may not make anything better. And there's truth to that. Could be. Now, with the Whitewater behind him, he would get back to work and pass the Brady Bill that creates background checks to be able to buy guns with a 5-day waiting period. He would extend the tax credit for people who had children and were low income, right? So it's the one you get today, the Earned Income Credit. Then he would face his next major scandal, which is called Troopergate. This would happen in '93 when allegations by an Arkansas state trooper who was directly under him accused Bill Clinton of basically setting up these rendezvous with other women for him to be able to cheat on his wife. Now the two men claimed, Brock would, this was reported to a guy named David Brock, who ran the story in the American Speculator. However, Brock would later apologize, saying the article was politically motivated and bad journalism, saying the men had slimy motives. So, nothing really ever comes out of it. So here's your thoughts. What were your thoughts on Troopergate? Was it a made-up scandal or a serious scandal? Okay, because you could go either way with it. You could say, well, he did obviously have an issue with cheating on his wife, which you're going to see later in just a second. And it didn't, odds are it didn't start as president. And these were state troopers directly under him. On the other hand, the guy that reported it, Miss Jackson said he had so much drama. Yeah, a lot of people used to say that his own worst, the only person who could stop Bill Clinton was Bill Clinton. But there was a lot of truth to that, right? That he got a lot done, but he seemed to be his own worst scandal.
I think it probably might have been made up.
Yeah, could have been some truth to it. I mean, you know, I'm not one of those people that's like once a cheater, always a cheater. But usually, if you catch somebody cheating, especially in that circumstance, then they were probably cheating, you know, before that. So
I think it was a scandal.
yeah, something shady going on. Could be serious.
I believe once a cheater, always a cheater.
Well, people can change.
Yeah,
I've seen people change.
but like, if you look, say this guy cheated in a boxing ring and kicked someone that kicked him, and then you're not allowed to kick in boxing, I don't think.
Right.
And you look back at that moment, you can still say, hey, oh yeah, they're a cheater because they did that. They cheated. So that means they're a cheater. Once a cheater.
Don't believe it. Made up scandal.
Yep. I don't know.
Something shady was definitely going on. He was meeting up with random women.
Yeah.
Serious scandal.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time a president would cheat on his wife. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him because he could get the power and the confidence, and I think they would have had what they wanted. That's right.
He is definitely very charming.
Definitely, yeah.
Mr. Mansley has a show? Well, I'll tell you this. If you want to stay here, I can relate the information to you. If you got to go, that's fine. It's up to you.
At the one.
Okay. I'm gonna try to go through it. All right.
It's always supposed to be 30 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know Mr. Mansley was doing a show at one. Because
Interesting.
I could be. I don't know. We'll see. All right, mostly made-up scandals. So, the issue of gay marriage, gay people in the military starts becoming a huge issue. Now, Clinton decided to implement a policy of don't ask, don't tell. So this is the way it basically works. The government's not allowed to ask you if you are gay or not. However, if you tell the government you're gay or not, then they have the right to fire you. Now, it would also face strong opposition from Democrats, including his own Vice President Gore, who felt like it didn't go far enough. He should just protect gay rights. But it also faced strong opposition from conservatives, who thought it went too far. Now, a lot of Democrats would point out that he could have followed the path of Truman and just declared an executive order and said, it's through my order that gays are allowed in the military. So what are your thoughts on don't ask, don't tell? Is it a good solution? Did it go too far? Did it not go far enough? What do you think? In your opinion, should gay people be allowed to serve in the military?
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, here's my view on it, okay? Because a lot of people in my school, I don't know if it's true, but they have said before they're LGBTQ or some sort. And some people will actually bully them for having that view. My opinion on it is it does not matter.
But hold on. In military, at least right now, because we don't have a draft, you have to join the military, right? You're volunteering for service, right? So they don't have to do that.
If you're going
I'm
to
just throwing that out there.
If you're going to volunteer to fight for your country, it should not matter what race you are. It should not matter who you like or who you don't like or what gender you are or whatever. You're volunteering to serve your country.
Exactly. It's just
you are volunteering to fight for people and risking your life for the people who are telling.
Okay, hold on. Ms. Jackson says it wasn't a good solution because even if you're gay, it doesn't make you lesser of a person. You should still be able to serve.
Exactly.
Right? Well, let me ask you: was it a good first step? Right? Because before this, gays were not allowed to serve. Was this a good first step?
Yes.
It's a good first step.
You think so?
But
let me tell you, he had the power to just end it.
Yeah, true.
To just say, all right, I'm the president, executive order, it's over.
There's no more of that.
I think he should have done that. I think he should have.
Yeah, he should have just went.
Shouldn't be a problem who you
didn't
are.
go far enough. But like I was saying, a lot of people at my school get bullied for even having that opinion, and I'm like, well, how could you judge them because
can't be themselves. Good solution.
it's like saying it's like a guy bullying another guy for being gay.
Yeah, maybe I should hide student names.
Like,
maybe they'll feel more apt to give a answer.
Or that's like a guy bullying a girl for being like bi or lesbian or something like that. They have the same view you do. Like,
Well, they're all trying to serve.
Like, you can't ask, like, you can't tell someone, like, you're not allowed to like that gender if you like that gender. Like, it's just, no.
Alright. Alright, let's move on. Alright,
No,
so more change would happen. In 94, he would create NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, which basically got rid of any tax on imports in or out of any North American countries, right? So it's just three, us, Mexico, and Canada. He would create the Omnibus Crime Bill, which would expand the death penalty. So now the death penalty wasn't just for murderers. It could include, like, if you were the head of a drug cartel, you could get the death penalty. And he would create an assault weapons ban that would last 10 years. Then came his next major test in 94. A genocide broke out in Rwanda, and he chose not to get involved due to the disaster he had in Somalia. This would be something Clinton would go on to say he major regretted. This may get the video flag, but we'll give it a shot. And these are American photographers, and you'll see troops. These are UN troops, not American troops. The guys with the blue helmets.
Yeah, they're UN troops. Who's the other people? Are those Americans?
No.
Who are they?
Basically, it's a genocide between the Hutu and the Tutsi.
So they're the
And Hutu were killing the Tutsi.
So that's the Hutu.
Yeah.
The blue people are the Hutu.
I lost 10 Belgian UN soldiers. They were protecting the Lady Prime Minister. She is dead. Yeah, she's dead. The Europeans are putting together an intervention force. They'll be here in a few days. Yes, I understand that, Colonel, but there's simply no place for me to put all of this. What can I do? I'll put 2 more men on the gate, 2 of my best lieutenants.
Okay, somebody asked a question, what are they mad for? So, the way we see race here in America, and for most of the planet, is the color of your skin, right? I want you to understand that's about as silly as anything you can think of, right? Because we're all the same species. We're all Homo sapiens. We're all humans, right? But in this country, Rwanda, they see race as the size of your nose. So you got a thin nose, and I might be getting these backwards, but yeah, I think it's if you have a thin nose, you're Tutsi. If you have a wide nose, you're Hutu. I might have those backwards. But anyway, they decided to base race on the size of your nose, the width of it. And so all the Hutu began killing all the Tutsi because the Tutsi had been in charge, and now a Hutu guy took over. They had a coup over the government and began just trying to kill all the Tutsi. So anybody who had the wrong size nose, they tried to kill them. So yeah, it's a really messed up. And now I know that sounds crazy. Like, wait a minute, how are you going to see race as the width of your nose? That's crazy.
How does that make any sense?
But to be honest, it's just as stupid as seeing race as the color of your skin.
Exactly.
You know, but so the question is, should we have gone into Rwanda? Should we have gone in there and tried to save the people in Rwanda from genocide?
Yes.
You think so? Why?
Because, like,
By this would be one of the worst accounts of genocide in history.
I don't even know where to begin.
Just turn it off. Turn it
We should have stepped in and
We
been
got some
like,
yeses, we
look.
got some nos. Let's hide student info so you get a good, accurate poll.
We should have stepped in and been like, look. You don't need.
Oh, a perfect mix
To be
of
doing
yes and
this.
no. That's rare.
It's not.
All right. Oh, wow, perfect mix of yes and no.
How is that possible?
It happens.
We should have stepped in. and
Now,
just done
thanks
it.
to investments made in military communication, a new system of communication will be made accessible to the world. Now, this is a system that existed in the military, but it was like made accessible to the whole world. And this was due in large to the efforts of the vice president. Okay? And that would be Al Gore. So it's like the inconvenience truth guy. And so now everybody would have access to the World Wide Web. So when you type www. blah, 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 the www stands for World Wide Web. In fact, HTTP, that stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocols. So,
Mind.
yeah, the www stands for World Wide Web. Yeah. So how often do you use the internet, and how would it impact you to not have access to it? So if I just said, all right, children, we're cutting off the internet, how would that affect your lives?
You're like, well, bye, I'm leaving.
You're leaving?
Yep,
What?
I'm leaving.
It's
You
not real
couldn't
good.
survive with no internet.
Yeah?
You gonna tell us?
Well, we're going
we
to camp.
can't-
If we camp, we're going to have no internet.
Well, we're going to be
It's
camping.
It's
not
for a
a
We're not
day,
gonna have.
and
We
we
have
have-
other things to occupy us.
What if we just live like Amish people? Rode around on a buggy and wagon?
Okay, fine then. We can live like Amish people, but you have to entertain us.
Hmm? No, I don't. Amish people don't
Yeah, you
entertain
do.
their children. My entertainment's going to be go out there and churn that butter. Plow that field.
You.
That's gonna be
are
real
have to
fun,
entertain us.
plowing that
You
field.
are gonna have to entertain
I'm
us.
going to entertain you
don't
by
have to
getting you
entertain
to...
us.
Joe, go feed them chickens.
No, I'm gonna be like, hey,
Huh?
you
Dad,
thought.
I want to see you go a whole day without any technology.
No, that's... Well, maybe, but I won't be doing the work. That's what I got kids for.
I don't think he'd ever.
Say,
be-
Joe, go feed them chickens.
I don't think my dad would ever be
Elizabeth,
able to
go-
a whole day
go sloth them
without any
hogs.
technology.
Go slop them hogs,
I could,
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth could, but Dad could never.
Let's see, Hulu, Netflix, Crunchyroll, schoolwork, every day.
Oh, Crunchyroll.
Upset and depressed if they didn't have access.
Yes.
For information, I'm sure Noelle didn't play any video games. It's all information.
couldn't
Oh wait,
go
and
a
to be
day
able to
without
play
debating on
video
Facebook.
games. All right, there we go. Let's see. Impacts me knowing what's happening in my environment. There you go. I would shut down. Srig would shut down.
Shut down.
Yeah, well, especially during a pandemic, it's really tough. You know.
You couldn't go a day without debating on with someone
Yeah.
somewhere on some form of social media, whether it be Facebook,
No, she's
or
in there
Instagram,
twice. I
or
think she
Twitter,
came in
or
when
whatever.
I came in left. So, let's see. Almost every day. Next slide information.
Pew, 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 pew.
Only source of entertainment.
Keep getting logged out.
Oh, but what if you never had it? That's an interesting question. Yeah, I'll tell you. When I was your age, I didn't miss the internet because it didn't exist. You know, we just had to go play on regular streamed consoles. A lot of Nintendo action.
Well, Dad, he's logging onto the TV and her phone too. That's why. He was logging you out 'cause he.
All right. Yeah, daily, but you don't have any option. Yeah, especially now for school. Now, the next issue, again, it's going to be gay rights is going to be a huge issue during the Clinton years. And he was going to sign in the Defense of Marriage Act that defined marriage between a man and a woman. So it meant that gay people could not get married. He would later reverse his decision, and he would actually beg the Supreme Court to... and it's very rare we ever see this, but we actually see a president fight against his own legislation. Right? He's going to ask the Supreme Court to strike down his own act. Right? He would later reverse the decision. Now he passed hate crime laws for gay people, so it made attacking gay people be a hate crime, and would fight the employment of non-discrimination act that failed. So he tries to create an act that would have not be able to discriminate. Okay, and I want you to hear this interview. And K-Poppers, I'm going to talk about that in just a second.
Back to the panel, back to Bill Clinton here, writing this opinion piece in the Washington Post. Here he is. I mean, how often do you have a president who is basically asking the Supreme Court to strike down a law that he signed, the Defense of Marriage Act? Jory, I want to begin with you. Curious if you think he's doing this just to protect a legacy.
Yes, I do, and I applaud it. I think that every politician has the right to change their mind. I wish they did it more because we wouldn't have the problems that we have now with Congress. But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with changing your mind afterwards. I personally believe that Clinton did what he felt he had to do at the time, which in a country that clearly did not have any laws that were protecting people gay people who wanted to get married, he had to do what he had to do. He had to pick his battles. And I think it's he still believed that he could go back and write this. And it's a time when he
Mark, why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking your head?
Oh, two things. One, I don't think he changed his mind. I think his stance on gay marriage is the exact same that it was 20 years ago, and I don't think that he
So then why sign the bill into law?
Well, he signed it into law because he knew that it would help him get re-elected. He knew he would be able to support his base. This isn't an outlier. If you look at President Clinton's legacy, three strikes bills, the crime bill, Prison Litigation Reform Act, Defense of Marriage Act, he imposed lots of laws that essentially allowed the right to support him, to make him this centrist bipartisan candidate, helped him, endeared him to the right, endeared him to the South.
Okay, so do you agree with the Defense of Marriage Act? Let me hide student names. That marriage is between a man and a woman, and that gay people should not be allowed to get married.
Nope.
Real fast, is it true that places are going to open back up at Easter? Because that's what my mom said. Well, let me tell you this. That is what the president had been saying, but I think he's given that up. And I think April 30th is kind of the deadline that everybody's looking at. But I'm actually going to address that as soon as the Clinton thing is over. I'm going to tap into that. We're going to talk about some announcements.
Wait, just for clarification, the DOMA, that's...
Defense of Marriage Act, right? Do you support... He signed into law that only different genders can get married. That women cannot marry... Okay.
So that's like anti...
Yes. So, let me tell you this.
LGBTQ?
This poll right now, 100% of them are against it. If we were to go back in time to when I was a teenager, this poll would look almost identical. Only opposite. Almost everybody would be against it. So.
Exactly. To be honest, now, say, like, I don't get this. So, basically saying no gay people?
Can get married. I mean, you can still be gay, but you can't get gay.
So you can't be married. That's stupid.
Well, that's your opinion, Joe.
Well, that's still no. Why would he say that? Doesn't make any sense. It's just like, okay.
Now, all right. So let's move on. Now, Clinton would win again in '96. We aren't gonna have anything. Anybody nice told you. Defeating an uninspired campaign from Bob Dole. Bob Dole was just not a great debater, and he's going to win easily. Now, right after he wins, he's going to have his next major hurdle. He's going to be very busy. He's going to sign bills for health care for foster kids, helping children get health care. He would loosen up restrictions on bank loans. However, in '98, he is sworn in during a lawsuit where he was accused of sexually harassing Paula Jones. Now, that's the same Paula from Troopergate. He said he did not have any appropriate relations in it, that he did not have any inappropriate relationship with Monica Lewinsky. However, they decided they had evidence later on that he did have an inappropriate relationship with her. So they voted 228 to 206 to go ahead with impeachment. Now, he would be acquitted based on his inability to understand the meaning of the word relationship. Like he kind of finagled around. He didn't understand the meaning of words when he was being sworn in. It was really kind of it was a genius strategy to get off on the charges. But it was like, come on now. It would be like me saying, you know, if I said, did you cheat? And you had cheated at a board game. And you were like, no, I didn't cheat. And later on I caught you cheating. You were like, well, I didn't cheat. Oh, you meant cheating on the board game. Oh, I thought you meant cheating on my taxes. It's like, what? No, you did not. That's not what I was talking about. You know, it's like playing around, playing dumb, kind of. But anyway, it's going to absolutely derail his campaign. Yeah, he's going to finance this. And by the way, all these questions about the pandemic, I am going to get to those. I just want to finish this up real fast. But this is him kind of defending himself.
Anymore. So while this was worthy of the nation's highest office, Ronald Reagan's speech, 12 years later, on this day in 1998, a scandal of sex and lies.
Political damage was rising much too fast. Today, drawn and bleary-eyed, Mr. Clinton joined the battle to save his presidency.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
So the question is, should he have been impeached? Yeah. Right now, well, hold on, let me ask the question. Even if he did cheat, which I think he cheated. I mean, it was obvious, they had evidence, he cheated on his wife, and it looked like he lied about it. Should he have been impeached over that? Is that an impeachable offense? Like, by the way, impeachment is not removal of office, that's just being put on trial. Should either him lying under oath or him having cheated on his wife, should that have been grounds for him being put on trial?
Lying under oath, yes. Cheating, not so sure. Because you can't be arrested for cheating. You can't go to jail for cheating. It's not against the law to cheat. It's just something that's not recommended. It's not something that's approved by the public.
And
you know, this is one that when it was happening, I was completely against it. Like, what a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. It's one that over the years I've actually kind of changed my stance on just because of kind of what Joe mentioned too. Like, you know, that should have some kind of weight to it, lying under oath. You know, even if it's about something silly. You know, if you're lying under oath, then it really... I'm not saying he should have been removed from office, but I do like the idea of investigating it. Personally.
Lying under oath, yes. I believe that should be that should be like the end of the line. Like, you should get impeached for that.
Right.
I don't think he should get impeached.
I think you should get impeached for lying
under oath. What if he actually did not?
Yes.
What if he did not?
That is something that should be impeached for.
Oh, he did. She had evidence.
Cheating, that's not something...
All right. Now, his next major objective for the Clinton administration would be to capture Osama bin Laden. Now, bin Laden would attack the U.S. Embassy in '98 in East Africa and kill 224 people. This is before 9/11. He would warn of the threat before he ran out of time and the ability to catch him. So he's assembling a task force to try to go after and capture bin Laden, but he just doesn't get him in time. Now, he's going to warn that, hey, look, this bin Laden guy is a threat, and when Bush takes over, he's going to kind of mostly ignore the threat of Osama bin Laden. And I want you to kind of hear him defend it when he's being interviewed.
When we announced that you were going to be on Fox News Sunday, I got a lot of email from viewers, and I got to say, I was surprised. Most of them wanted me to ask you this question. Why didn't you do more to put bin Laden and Al-Qaeda out of business when you were president? There's a new book out I suspect you've already read, called The Looming Tower. And it talks about the fact that when you pulled troops out of Somalia in 1993, bin Laden said, I have seen the frailty and the weakness and the cowardice of U.S. troops. Then there was the bombing of the embassies in Africa and the attack on the Pole. Okay, let's just... May I just finish the question, sir? And after the attack, the book says that bin Laden separated his leaders, spread them around because he expected an attack, and there was no response. I understand that hindsight is always 20/20.
Well, let's talk about it.
But the question is, why didn't you do more, connect the dots, and put them out of business?
All right, let's talk about it. Now, I will answer all those things on the merits, but first I want to talk about the context in which this arises. I'm being asked this on the Fox network. ABC just had a right-wing conservative running their little pathway to 9/11, falsely claiming it was based on the 9/11 Commission report, with 3 things asserted against me directly contradicted by the 9/11 Commission report. And I think it's very interesting that all the conservative Republicans who say I didn't do enough claimed that I was too obsessed with bin Laden. All of President Bush's neocons thought I was too obsessed with bin Laden. They had no meetings on bin Laden for 9 months after I left office. All the right-wingers who now say I didn't do enough said I did too much. Same people. They were all trying to get me to withdraw from Somalia in 1993. The next day, after we were involved in the Black Hawk Down, and I refused to do it and stayed 6 months and had an orderly transfer to the United Nations. Okay, now let's look at all the criticisms. Black Hawk Down, Somalia. There is not a living soul in the world who thought Osama bin Laden had anything to do with Black Hawk Down, or was paying any attention to it, or even knew Al-Qaeda was a going concern in October 1993.
I understand.
No, wait. Don't tell me this. You asked me why did I do more to bin Laden. There was not a living soul. All the people who now criticize me wanted to leave the next day. You brought this up, so you get an answer.
I'm perfectly happy to.
All right, secondly,
Bin Laden says,
Bin Laden may have said
Bin Laden says that, but it showed the weakness of the United States.
It would have shown the weakness if we'd left right away. But he wasn't involved in that. That's just a bunch of bull. That was about Muhammad Aidid, a Muslim warlord, murdering 22 Pakistani Muslim troops. We were all there on a humanitarian mission. We had no mission, none, to establish a certain kind of Somali government or keep anybody out. He was not a religious fanatic. There was no Al-Qaeda.
With respect, if I may, instead of going through 93 and...
No, you ask it. You brought it up.
May I ask you a general question and then you can answer? Yeah. The 9/11 Commission, which you talked about, and this is what they did say, not what ABC pretended they said.
What did they say?
They said about you and President Bush, and I quote, "The U.S. government took the threat seriously, but not in the sense of mustering anything like the kind of effort that would be gathered to confront an enemy of the first, second, or even third rank."
First of all, that's not true with us and bin Laden.
Well, I'm talking about the 9/11 Commission.
Let's look at what Richard Clark said. Do you think Richard Clark has a vigorous attitude about bin Laden?
Yes, I do.
You do, don't you?
He has a variety of opinions and loyalties, but yes, he has a vigorous opinion.
Yeah, he has a variety of opinions and loyalties now. But let's look at the facts. He worked for Ronald Reagan. He was loyal to him. He worked for George H.W. Bush. He was loyal to him. He worked for me, and he was loyal to me. He worked for President Bush. He was loyal to him. They downgraded him and the terrorists.
That was the counter-terrorist guy that was threatening about bin Laden.
Read his book
and when George Bush took over and he was saying, hey, we need to deal with this guy, Bush fired him.
Vigorous action after the African embassies. We probably nearly got bin Laden. I authorized... No, wait a minute. I authorized the CIA to get groups together to try to kill him. The CIA was run by George Tenet that President Bush gave the medal.
Alright, so you get the basic drift. He basically said, look, I wanted to get him. I tried to get him. I was obsessed with getting him. But the Republicans all said I was being dumb and too obsessed with bin Laden. He didn't get him, though, right? I mean, he did not get him. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he didn't get him. So what percentage of the blame do you put on Bill Clinton for 9/11? Not getting Osama bin Laden. What percentage of the blame do you give? Elizabeth?
For him doing what?
That's why I told you to get off your phone.
No, what exactly did he... Like, what did he do to...
Okay, Osama bin Laden attacked, killed 224 people in West Africa. He was obsessed with going after bin Laden. He wanted to go after bin Laden
I didn't
so
know the
bad,
guy's name.
right?
I'm like, what did he do?
But all the Republicans were like, no, you're being obsessed with him. It's a waste of resources. And he came this close to getting him, but didn't get him, right? kind of knew in the region where he was, but couldn't find it, right? He got away. Now, on one hand, you can say, okay, but you were the president. It was your job to get him, right? You know, I don't want excuses.
Yes, but...
On the other hand, you can say, yeah, but even the government he was working for didn't want him doing it. They didn't want him going after it. In fact, the only guy that did was this Dick Wolf guy. And as soon as he took over, Bush took over, and he was like, hey, look, this guy's a threat, Bush just fired him. And, you know, kind of gutted the response to counterterrorism.
That's about 85%.
So you blame Bill Clinton 85%?
Oh, no. I meant like the government and stuff.
I blame him.
I think I'm kind of in Mr. Raby's camp. I think I'm going to give him 25. That's about where I feel like. Me personally. Just because, look, you are the president. It is your job to deal with this stuff.
I'd say like 70, 75.
You say 75?
70, 75,
okay.
Maybe 80.
80, wow.
I feel like it's like 70%. I feel like it's 75% the government's fault and it's like 25%.
Well, okay, so he put, because he triggered Osama bin Laden to kill people. Really, if you do that, though, it kind of goes back all the way back to that Charlie Wilson's war. That was long before he was in office. That's when the U.S. really started meddling in Afghanistan.
10%.
Okay.
Okay, Mom.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us today with Bill Clinton. Again, I would love for y'all to show back up tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Bush years, the George W. Bush years. So that's going to do it for today.
I'm going to start joining these live streams.
Yeah? Okay.
If I can.
Okay. And so let me deal with the big stuff that y'all are asking, right? And kind of the announcements as far as school and all that stuff. So we got information yesterday that we are to return to school on April 30th. And that we're going to be able to input grades then. And we're going to have schoolwork and all that stuff, right? There was talk earlier about us opening up on Easter. Of course, remember when it first happened, it said April 13th. And if you remember, even that last day, or some of the other days going back, I was like, look, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see any snowball's chance, and you know what, that we're going back on April 13th. That is a huge pipe dream. I don't see it. By the way, Jay asked, what's my email again? It's jwaldrop1. So J and then my last name, Waldrop, and then the number 1 at ebrschools.org. But yeah, basically in a nutshell, so the new date is April 30th. I think that's because that's what the president's talking about. That's what the governor is talking about. So I'm going to go back to kind of touching on what Ms. Jackson said. Look, we're going to operate as though school is starting back April 30th. That's the plan. That's the goal. It could happen. I mean, in theory, it could happen, right? If everybody takes precaution, they all stay inside, they don't go out, they do what they're supposed to do, it absolutely could start back April 30th. That's a reasonable time frame, right? However, I don't know if you saw, there was that church in Central had another 1,000 people show back up last Sunday. So the question of that is, oh, by the way, live stream is every day at noon, every weekday at noon. So thank you for asking that, Trinity. But
same time.
Right. But the question about,
yes,
can we go back to school on the 30th? Look, let's operate as if we are, right? That's how I think the kind of narrative is. We're going to operate as though that's exactly what we're doing. April 30th, go back to school. My gut, I hesitate to even get it. I think you can kind of sense where I'm going with this. But let me just tell you this. When I go to bed at night, I pray that we do what we're supposed to do and that we go back to school on April 30th. That would please me to no end. Because let me tell you, if nothing else, is that, man, I want to tell y'all goodbye. You know, I don't want the last time I see you, you know, I didn't even get to say goodbye to y'all. So that is huge on me weighing on my heart that, I don't want the last time I see y'all is chatting on YouTube, right?
No.
So if for nothing else, and selfish reasons, I want everybody to stay inside. It's Ms. Jackson just brought up flattening the curve, right? We got to flatten the curve. So look, if you know anybody, tell them flatten the curve. Look, I want to get back to my life. I think y'all do too, probably at this point.
We all want to.
So
if we don't do this, it's going to be December.
Yeah. So Ms. Jackson made the point of, look, right now the curve is not flattening. It's just not happening. I mean, we had a day last week where we had 3,000 new cases, followed by another one 2,500.
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, we're at 15,000. I don't know what the latest report for today is.
Yes.
But it's not happening. The curve is not getting flattened, right? They're talking about April 10th. We're going to run out of supplies.
Yep.
What do you think are the chances of going back to school on the last?
Well, they say April 30th, so that's what they're. I'm gonna let your answers in the chat speak for themselves. Yeah, Louisiana's the third highest rate of COVID-19. Yeah.
It isn't speaking.
Is it possible to have school before April 30th? Absolutely not. 0% chance of that. Definitely not going to happen at this point.
Yeah. Are there people who have had school before?
Well, and he said it's sprinkling, which isn't good. I don't know if Hawaii's had an outbreak. I have to look that up. I'm glad you asked. Look, I'm probably with Trinity. I think my prediction, April 30th. I don't know. I hesitate to give you. We're not in person, so yeah. So if there's 20,000 people, April 30th, 20,000 people walk around infected, are people going to send their kids back to school? I can't speak for everybody, but let me tell you this: these two kids, if there's 20,000 people walking around with a virus, they're not going back to school.
No.
So, but let me tell you this: if there's 20,000 people walking around infected on April 30th, like actively infected, and are infectious, I think it's going to be taken out of the hands of the schools. I think the governor's going to step in, and they're going to do it. Look, what I kind of look at is Italy. We're about a month behind Italy, and Italy has not reopened yet. So we'll see. Seen American Idol taking place. Well, let me tell you. Let's see.
This is for Hawaii.
And yes,
the graphic, which was.
There's been 112 cases in Hawaii.
And yes, tomorrow the thing is at
20 to 39.
Okay, so Ms. Jackson asked the question, what if the nation goes on lockdown? Let me tell you this, to be brutally honest, this is my 2 cents. I wish we had gone on lockdown 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, absolute lockdown. We still got 9 states that aren't even taking safety precautions.
Nope.
So,
and yes, tomorrow the thing is at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, my thing is, look, let's just go on lockdown. Let's get it over with. It's going to suck. I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to do it. We've been doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I go out for a jog every day, and I walk my dogs, and that's about the only time I leave the house.
Oh,
so.
And Miss Rachel sometimes goes to the store, but other than that, we don't.
But yeah, look, let me tell you this. If we went on some kind of like super duper lockdown, yeah, we could be back to school in April. Look, this whole thing only lasts 14 days.
If we go on martial lockdown, it'll be done in 14 days, and we can go back to school in the last week of April.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Up to the president, though.
Exactly.
It doesn't feel like right now that's the case, like that's what's going to happen.
I don't think they're going to.
What I have been directed to tell y'all is to prepare for April 30th to go back to school. So that's what I've been told. Look, we got a meeting
for longer.
We got a meeting on the 9th where I should be able to know more. We're going to be able to talk to the administration and stuff like that. So I'll get a better sense of what they're thinking.
Yep.
But that's kind of what we've been told, is to tell everybody April 30th.
30th.
So.
Hopefully we come back April 30th.
Yeah, well, that gets to another one too. The snow cone place near my house is still open. It's like, how's that essential?
Yeah, what?
I still see car dealerships are open, and it's just crazy stuff that's being declassified as essential.
The more it gets, the worse it gets, the more that we're not on lockdown.
Exactly.
So everybody stay inside. Don't go outside.
Yep.
The worse it gets.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think a lot of y'all are preaching the choir on this one. I think I'm kind of right there with y'all.
Exactly.
But let me stress to y'all, I'm going to keep doing this for the duration, right? So however long this lasts, at the very least, you can show up here, still invest in your education, communicate with your other students, all that stuff. So I was thinking about setting up maybe a session on Saturday for us to be able to have like a hangout, like not a lesson, just a hangout. Kind of talk, see how everybody's doing.
You can make
catch
videos
up
on Flipboard.
Yeah, so I think this Saturday I'm going to make the Microsoft Teams session for everybody to just meet and hang out. So,
hi.
Yeah.
And
grades. So, people do aggravate me. So as far as they're saying, like, look, just keep doing what you're doing. That it does seem like I'm going to be able to, at the very least, give it to you as bonus work. And then when we go back to school, I'm probably going to have to go through a lot of these lessons again. But at the very least, you'll be doing it for bonus. So,
Yeah, it's not very as we expected. Yes, I saw.
Yeah, and that's a big one too. You see a lot of people talking about, like, let's just end lockdown because let the old people die. And it's like, come on now, you're going to be old at some point.
Yeah, how would you feel if you were 65 years old and then this is happening?
Noel said, are we going to have any end of the world calls? You better believe that. Yeah, there's some dude in his grandma's basement right now putting together an end of the world cult. AP testing is still going to happen. That is going to happen. For that will happen for sure. EOCs, it looks like we'll probably have a final, but not the LEAP test. So no LEAP test. Yes on AP testing. Yes on an EOC of some kind, but it'll be one I made. It'll be reasonable.
Okay.
So
I just hope that we don't have to do a LEAP test because.
Right.
Yeah.
But no LEAP testing. So.
Yay, no LEAP testing.
All right. So do y'all have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when does spring break end?
I think it's next week technically. Everybody getting your Fallout bunker. Yeah.
Wait, this week is spring break, right?
I
think it's next week.
Anyway, but
let me tell y'all this. So they're saying spring break. They're telling teachers y'all don't have to do work, right? That's what they're telling us. Like if I wanted to, I could cancel the show. But I'm guessing if y'all are showing up, y'all enjoy this little hour of the day to communicate, to learn history, to participate in the show. Most of the people are showing up kind of like my rock hard, crew, so to speak, that are participating. So look, because y'all aren't abandoning the show and y'all are tuning in, staying loyal, I'm not abandoning y'all. So even during spring break, I'm going to be doing these live streams. So I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to ration. One of the things I kind of got into with Elizabeth when it first happened, I said, look, we're going to continue eating, but not every meal is going to be delicious. So you're going to have to eat our new realms of what you will accept as food. So
I will go hungry if you feed me tofu. I might. No.
Oh, she said don't cancel. It's the only thing entertaining. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad y'all show up and join in. I love having y'all with me. So, I'm not going anywhere. I might even do this during the summer. So, I'm up to 82 subscribers. A lot of people are watching these after the fact.
I will keep participating in
I appreciate it. And Mr. Raby, I want a good theme song. The one I have, it'll do. But I'm waiting for a good theme song.
Wait, you have a theme song?
Yeah, I showed you my theme song, right? Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Yeah, that theme song. Yeah, it's not up to my standard I want. So I want it man-made, so to speak.
What theme song is it?
I'll let you hear it afterwards. Is it going to affect us who are all juniors so much next year? Well, at the very least, it sounds like you're going to be seniors no matter what. Yeah, the Contagion movie, I have seen that. That's really good. Yeah, we really do have 104 days of summer vacation.
Yay!
You know what she's referencing, right? Do you remember that show? There's 104 days of summer vacation, and school comes along just to end it. You remember that show?
Phineas and Ferb. We're going to turn into them, actually.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
That's right. Weird person.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, listen, y'all. Thank you so much for showing up. I always end these shows by saying thank you for your dedication, your education.
Education.
Like 2 more years of vacation. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen. Seriously, don't think this is a vacation though. This is not a vacation. Do not go out. Don't go to the beach. Don't do crazy stuff.
There's some people down in Auburn thinking this is a summer vacation.
Yeah, my home school, a lot of people went down to the beach and came back and spread it all over Auburn.
Exactly.
So now
and
Lee
then
County's dealing with it. So.
And then they're in college, and even if this person did not.
As far as I gather, no, you will not have to take the LEAP test next year either. That's what I gathered. Now, I'm going to know. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to ask that question specifically. So I'll ask that question specifically when we have our meeting on the 9th. If I know we don't take it this year, we're going to have to take it next year. So I'll ask that specifically. So, yeah, it's kind of torture. Well, I'm a sociable dude. I like going out. So yeah, so anyways. All right, well, listen, y'all, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all showing up.
Yes, it is tomorrow
at
noon.
No, you do not have to make up these days. I'm glad you asked that. No, the governor declared like some kind of an emergency situation. We will not have to make up these days.
Exactly.
So.
But tomorrow noon, 12 o'clock, same thing.
Same bat time.
Yeah, same time, just saying.
Same bat
Because I saw
channel.
one person ask, is it the same time, 12 o'clock?
Yeah, okay, all right. So, listen, y'all, thank you so much. Glad you could join us today. Yeah, it's a state of emergency. Glad you could join us today. Thank you for your dedication and education. Send in those baby pictures. I think it'll be fun. So we'll send those in, and I'll do a couple slides, and we'll see if we can guess who they are. Kind of a fun Friday activity. So
we should do my baby picture, and they can see if they can guess me.
My baby picture.
And I have a baby picture of Joe on my phone. We can
send in those baby pictures. So
we'll mix in me and Joe, and we'll see if y'all can guess me. And
right,
Joe.
right. All right. So listen, y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you for your dedication and education, and y'all have a great day. And
bye.
Wait.
Bye.
Do we have to take the ACT in June? Yes, ACT will still be in June. That's right.
Well,
let me tell you this. Right now, they're saying the ACT will happen in June, so we'll see. But right now, they're definitely going to have an ACT. I think it's going to be modified, but we're definitely having an ACT.
It's a kind of ACT.
All right, so unless there's any other questions y'all want to pop in, or if y'all want to ask me a question, email, ask me a question, and remind, feel free to do that. But until tomorrow at noon, goodbye.
Bye.